in the tech industry, it's the talent. Honestly, I know a lot of people from Herzegovina or Bosnia in Germany or even in London that are very successful. And I think they should not, they were going away because of whatever reason. It was probably politically driven. But I think time has changed. People do not have to go away from there. I mean, they should go away to see the world and to learn. But you don't have to move away. You don't have to move your family away. I think that's the reason why I'm here in Mostar, because I believe that I want to be there where the clever people sit.
Poštovani slušatelji, dobro nam došli na još jedan podcast, ITO podcast. Danas sa nama je u nizu naših cijenjenih prijatelja i partnera gost koji dolazi iz Austrije, gospodin Andreas Spechtler. Tko je Andreas Spechtler i koje su njegove reference i zašto je baš on danas gost ITO podcasta? Vjerujem da ćemo saznati puno toga i iz njegovih usta, međutim, ukratko, za sve one koji nisu upoznati sa Andreasom, Andreas je direktor i osnivač Silicon Castlesa, strateškog poslovnog akceleratora za tehnologiju i licenciranje intelektualnog vlasništva. Budući da ipak jezik u kojem ćemo pričati na podcastu je engleski, evo, molio bih za razumijevanje da dopustite nam da se prebacimo na engleski. So I made just a small introduction to our guests and all of those listening our podcasts. Andreas, first of all, welcome to Mostar. This is not your first time here. This is not your first time in Mostar, in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Before you make maybe an official introduction of yourself, I would like to give you an honest welcome to ITO. There are so many things that we have learned from you, and I guess we are still learning from you and all of your ventures. It is very interesting to hear from you in person, all of your adventures that you have during your vast experience in your career. So, just for those who are listening and hearing about your name for the first time, maybe a small, brief introduction of yourself and all of your activities that you're currently working.
Marko, thank you so much for being here. It's a great honor to be here in Mostar and in Herzegovina and Bosnia to see this amazing progress that this region in Europe makes. And I have a passion for Central Eastern Europe since many years. My grandmother was Croatian, so there was always talks in the family about Croatia, and of course it was at that time in the monarchy. But nowadays I really believe that this is a thriving region, coming up region, and as Austrian, you always look into this region traditionally. So in my career, you mentioned it, I'm 30 years in this business, in technology business, global technology business. And 6 years ago, I started my company, Silicon Castles, out of the motivation that in Europe, we need more power to technology startups. And in my career, I had the privilege to work in global companies like Sony or Dolby Labs and gained a lot of experience. But I also had my own startup in 1999 in Germany, which was in Web 1.0, so in the first amazing breakthrough of internet and what also was possible at that time, and mobile devices and wireless services that came up in this time. So mobile and internet came here, and so over the years I saw many talents coming from this region, and that's so very simple actually to say, let's go to this region, because in my view, location is irrelevant where you are now. This was not the case when I was young.
Yeah, we are all global citizens, so pretty much whole Europe is 1 hour, 2 hours stops apart from whichever destination you start your journey from.
Correct, and you can even see it even more bigger. I mean, if let's say in San Francisco something happens in a second, you have the information here in Mostar, and you don't have to go to Munich or to London to understand what's going on. The world has become basically a village of information, free flow of information, and with the recent appearance of let's say consumer-grade artificial intelligence with ChatGPT, etc., it's even more rapidly increasing for young people to start companies, because you can do it. It's your brain and a laptop.
Yeah, exactly. And, mentioning ChatGPT and artificial intelligence today is a buzzword, definitely. More and more people are getting introduced to it as we're talking. And the powers of and the capabilities of artificial intelligence is something that I guess people are still not aware of. And that in a very short period of time in front of us, we're going to rely on the artificial intelligence more and more. But regarding that, you also had some experiences regarding the artificial intelligence, especially with the intellectual property.
Yeah, I mean, all my career always was kind of involved in intellectual property. I mean, my real background from education is law. So I'm a lawyer, but I never really practiced law in law firm. I always was on the business side and creation side of businesses. And the intellectual property, so name it, is it software or patents or trademarks, etc. It's really key, and it's a differentiation factor. And a lot of people do not see that enough. They think speed kills everything, and of course if you throw millions on it, then you can achieve a lot, but most of the startups do not have millions immediately. They have to work with hundreds of thousands and whatever money, and so it's really important to understand, if you need IP for your business, then you should create it. And you should not shy away. Look, filing a patent is not super expensive. You need the idea, and then you need a patent lawyer, and this patent lawyer, depends where you are, is between probably 3,000-4,000 to 6,000-7,000, depends where you are, in which location in Europe. And then you file it, and then you see what happens after the research report, if this idea was really good, as you described it in the patent application. So it's actually very interesting to use that format, because it can help you dramatically in your business model later on. But you don't have to. It makes a lot of sense for certain markets and certain businesses to use that, and people should really do that. And I always say, every clever engineer, every CTO probably, if you turn him upside down and you explain to him what a patent needs, maybe there's a patent dropping out. And Europe delivers many patents, files many patents, but it could be more.
Now, while speaking about the artificial intelligence and the patents, previously, I believe before the introduction of artificial intelligence, although it was present for years behind us, of course, but maybe not in this format and in this accessible format, artificial intelligence was present for a long time. But I guess the startups, which you have vast experience with, relied upon the collaboration of some more experienced both consultants or companies which had some experience in the patents. And how is this changed now with the artificial intelligence? In which direction do startups now need to address that issue compared to, let's say, 20 years ago?
I think it has changed dramatically. I would say now a startup without AI is probably not successful. I mean, yes, it can be successful without AI, but I think if you really want to make a difference and you really want to create value that is potentially good for an exit, I think you should involve yourself with AI. And AI is not rocket science. I mean, it is rocket science in the way that you have to work hard and you need data and you need to test it and you need to train AI. So that's the real hard work. But basically, all what we know today, it takes time. It's not like you switch on AI and it works tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because you need training, you need data, you need users, and so it is a very structured process to create AI. And sometimes IP or patents can help you to differentiate, but not necessarily. But it could be a very strong combination of, even if you're able to patent AI, which is possible.
Which is possible. I mean,
It's very fine line, but you can do it, because in the end, creating a patent is a very logic process. And AI is a very logic process, and it's a method, it's a process, and it's easier in the US to do that than in Europe, but you can also do it in Europe if you have also the right advice. And also in the end, if you find the right patent lawyer who understands this, then it is possible, and then you should do it.
Interesting. And how does Silicon Castles get in this picture?
How we get in this picture? So look, we are a tech company builder, so we're looking at many hundreds of ideas every year, and people can come with an idea to us. Also startups can come with an idea to us, but sometimes those raw ideas are more fascinating because they are more crazy. And sometimes a crazy idea can be amazing business in the end if you apply the right business model to the idea. The right you create out of this idea, you create IP and you create a product. And from the business opportunity, you understand the market size and then the business model. So I think these are the key blocks. And of course, you always need to have a team that is really competent and passionate. And then if you put this together, the idea, the talent that has the idea, and the business opportunity, suddenly you have a great foundation of your business. And then you build on top IP, you build on top the team, you build on top the business model, the go-to-market strategy. But this all has to be super fast. So Silicon Castles, that's our brand of the company. There's a meaning behind why Silicon. I mean, I like the speed of Silicon Valley. In my career, I've been to Silicon Valley years and traveled there and stayed there for really a lot of time in the last 30 years. And I've seen Silicon Valley change, but what has never changed is the speed. And I think the speed that this is really needed here in Europe more, to really try, and if you fail, stand up and do it again. And failing is not bad. Failing is needed to improve. I mean, look at kids, if they start learning to run, they fall down and stand up, yeah, and they do it again, and suddenly they run, and suddenly they walk. Let's say walking and then running. Yeah. So I think it's the same analogy. You need to fail. You need to fall down and stand up again and walk, and then suddenly you can run. And I think we need to run faster in Europe. We need to accept failure as a chance, as a big repository of know-how in the end. Yeah. Because how do you learn? I mean, you can believe somebody or you make a mistake.
The previous guest that we had on the podcast actually said something very. It was definitely not his sentence, but he said something like, "Fail often, fail fast."
Yes, absolutely. That's the principle. Eh?
Yeah, this is the only thing that keeps you on upgrading yourself constantly, right, and growing, and in any ways. But I definitely think that we need to put ourselves very often into the situation to be out of our comfort zone. Sure. And innovation starts there. Right. The innovation doesn't start in the comfort zone where, enough is the quiet killer. Exactly. How Robert Kiyosaki said that to have enough is worse than have nothing, because if you have enough, then you can easily adjust yourselves to even 10% less of the income that you currently have. I will cut something off in my day-to-day living, and I'll cut 10% of expenses. Maybe I won't go 2 times per month in restaurant. I will go 1 time in the restaurant. It will be motivational killer. But if you fail and if you're dropped on the bottom, then there's only one way to go, and it's up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then there's another principle: keep it simple, stupid. KISS.
Yeah, KISS method.
So you need to just sometimes startups articulate too complicated what it is, and in the end, people want a simple story, And so you need a story, of course you need storytelling, but you need to make it simple so that people understand it, specifically investors understand it. I mean, investors are, of course, experts most of the time, yeah? But still they're maybe not expert in every field, so the message needs to be simple. What is the value proposition for my customers? And if I need 5 sentences to explain, it's probably too long. And then your idea is maybe not that clear and will not be sold easily, because in the end, once you have a product, you need to sell, and you should not wait too long to let's say, sit in the garage and work on my idea and not go out, because the key is you have to go out as soon as possible. As soon as you have a meaningful product to show or to explain, you have to go out, and you have to get the feedback from the market immediately. And the bigger the customer, the better. It's not about selling, it's probably more about getting the feedback and opening doors for the next phase of selling. Because I always ask startups, okay, what is your potentially biggest customer? Apple, is it Samsung? Who is it? Or is it Citibank, or who is it? Yeah? Or is it Aramco if you're in the oil business? Whatever. What is your biggest customer? You need to meet your biggest customer. And the 80-20 rule is a good one here. You should not wait too long. European startups tend to wait too long to sell, and then sometimes missing the boat because somebody else was here and made it much more easier. Similar solution has been created much easier, simpler terms. And even if you have a better product or better technology, you might have lost already the market because somebody was there. So that's why I think people need to go out very early and get their feedback from the market. Maybe sometimes it's a punch in the eye, well, and then you get a punch in the eye, but then you maybe learn. It's similar to the walking analogy of kids to learn how to walk. You need to get your feedback from the customer early. To iterate again and to innovate again and to change again and maybe pivot your product. And so I've seen, honestly, I don't know any successful startup who has not gone through pivoting.
And
it's almost
multiple pivoting.
Yeah. Multiple. And this is fine as long as you still stay passionate, you still have a core technology that works. Maybe you have IP, but maybe you have not found the right market. And then you need to look to find the right market and the right market strategy, and then you can be very successful.
Yeah. So, with dealing with startups like you already have, I guess in this 6 years there are some gems that you can maybe mention to our.
Yeah, of course. So there is one startup that is out of Austria. Called Authentic Vision. So they protect brands from getting counterfeited, but they also, with the same technology, ensure that the link between the physical and the digital world in the future, Web 3.0, is unique and you cannot fake it. Because let's say you participate in a Web 3 application from this world in the other world or in the metaverse, who confirms that you are you or that this product is existing here? So you need some technology, and they created a holographic fingerprint that is unique. It's like a leaf. Every leaf on a tree is individual, and they created a holographic fingerprint technology, and you can read this out with every smartphone, and that's connecting you to a digital activity, or it's connecting you to a product registration or whatever you want, loyalty program, etc. So this is an example that is a company already doing pretty well. It's not a classic startup anymore, it's more a scale-up. And then another company in Berlin, they do hearing technology, so they're making your hearing personal. I mean, for me, worked for Dolby many years ago, it's interesting because, of course, Dolby has created the best one-to-many sound, and this company called Mimi Hearing makes your one-to-one sound. So gives you back all the deficiencies that you have in hearing, because you don't even know it that you don't hear good enough. because your brain is so used to interpolate and to restore missing features in your hearing, and they give it back to you simplified in headphones or smartphones where the technology is implemented, and then it's running over the music you hear or the live sound you hear in the headphones. It's adding those missing links back, and suddenly you can listen less loud. Actually, it's a healthy listening in the end, and this is revolutionary also. And both companies have between 80 to 100 patents, and they're really strong in their field. So let's say big competitors need to talk to them. That's a very interesting approach of both of the companies, and they will be very successful.
So you mentioned big companies approaching to them. What is the model? What is, from your experience, maybe for the listeners that are already in their business, maybe they are already in some ideas for their startup, what is the right way to approach or to be approached by a potential investor? What is maybe especially for the countries from the Balkans region, we do have this specific, how do you call it, prejudices about anything that comes from Balkan, as same as we have for like Austria, Germany, the German car is the best one. And if you're driving a German car, that's it, So there are prejudices. And
I think of course they are there because it's so nice to remember them and always repeat them. But honestly, I think they're not valid in the tech industry. In the tech industry, it's the talent. Honestly, I know a lot of people from Herzegovina or Bosnia in Germany or even in London that are very successful. And I think they should not, they were going away because of whatever reason. It was probably politically driven, but I think time has changed. People do not have to go away from there. They should go away to see the world and to learn, but you don't have to move away. You don't have to move your family away. I think that's the reason why I'm here in Mostar, because I believe that I want to be there where the clever people sit, because only few people go away. The majority of people don't want to move. It's not like in the US. In the US, people are moving like crazy.
Yeah, this is their culture.
It's their culture. We have a different culture. We love our environment. I was so happy when I came back to Salzburg, to my hometown, after many, many years traveling and being abroad. It's a quality of life. And look, if I'm here and I see the beautiful mountains and the environment and the nature, it's beautiful here. So why do you go away? Let's make use of the talents that are here. I call them European diamonds. We have these diamonds in the rough, yeah? And it's always starting with people, talents, yeah? They have a crazy idea, and sometimes I have the feeling that we do not embrace them enough, and we also do not value those people enough. And I believe this is a big mistake, yeah? Specifically in those big, let's say, centers of IT, of tech, let's say in London, in Munich or Paris. Everybody should be there, or Silicon Valley. It's the same logic. Yeah? But I see it the other way around. I believe that there's a huge underserved market, which is all around Europe. It's the same for Spain in smaller cities, and it's for Central Eastern Europe, for the Balkan region. So I think they have to take this advantage. They have the knowledge. In a second, you know everything what happened in the world. Do it and come up with new ideas. And I think here we have some formats to help people to come up with their ideas. So we call them diamond labs. So how do we find these diamonds? Yeah, we just recently, the last 2 days, we were in Split in Croatia to do it at the university, Faculty of Economics, with them together. It was amazing how many cool ideas came out. And they were born in the lab, because this is a design thinking lab. So we have designed 2 days how you open up people that they think positive, and they think not in no but in yes and. So you have to change the mindset thinking. You have to allow crazy thoughts, and you have to, sometimes these crazy thoughts are exactly those wonderful ideas that could become really cool. I mean, one of the startups that also is they're coming now to Mostar, the Via Birds. I mean, they had this idea. They're coming from a really rural region in Austria, in Salzburg, in the mountains. So similar, actually, I would say similar to the Herzegovina landscape. And there is a big highway, and a lot of people, when they go from the Germans, go to Italy on holiday, and the Dutch, they're stuck in traffic jam. And these boys had the idea that they could serve the traffic jammers that stand in the traffic jam, 50, 60,000 people on a 20-kilometer autobahn. Yeah? Why don't we serve them with local food and drinks and etc. And they came up with, okay, there's an app. The jammers in traffic jam can order this, and we fly those products with drones to the cars. Of course, I like this idea amazingly. Of course, it's legally difficult and actually impossible right now, but it will change. And so from this, they started to develop this idea that you gather from different merchants, from different farmers or bakeries, etc., the products, and bring it to one location where you can get it. And so they created their own website and their own shop, and they started to deliver this in Salzburg. And of course, it was too early, probably. It was not commercially successful. But what they learned is how to create the software for such a situation. And in the meantime, they are a software solution provider for e-commerce. Not the high-end solution that works with SAP, and not the Shopify that everybody can do, but very specifically for the mid-market, where every farm, every let's say bakery, or every mid-sized company that needs a professional e-commerce solution can work with them, and they are really doing well. And now I think there is a future here for this.
I'm glad to hear that, because every guest that I have, and trust me, I have a lot of guests from all around the world in ITO, I like to ask them, about their perspective, the view from their shoes, let's call it like that, about Bosnia and Herzegovina, mainly because we are currently focused on Herzegovina. We had several examples where, the locals living here have proven to take everything for granted, and we have this saying in the local language that somebody else's sun is shining more bright than ours, So this is, I believe, maybe one of the misconceptions that locals, wherever they are, maybe even in Salzburg, somebody else's goal is to go somewhere else, everyone tends to step up the game a bit, step up his life. Maybe he's comparing to his parents, maybe he's comparing to his friends, but he wants to level up, step up his life in the positive direction. So I believe, that people everywhere tend to do that, but the people from Bosnia and Herzegovina, unfortunately, don't see in front of themselves, the solutions. Maybe I'm amongst those as well, but I believe that we need to ask these questions like I'm about to ask you. What do you think and what do you see that maybe we here living in Herzegovina that we don't see? Is it that some potential in talents? Is it potential with universities? Is it the potential with the nature? With
I think you mentioned the most important thing is the talents. And I think you have great universities here in Mostar. So this is a very good basement, and for a basement to build up a house, a tech house. You have also a couple of companies here you're doing a great job in my point of view. So I think these are good building blocks. Of course, it's still small, but trust me, a lot of those tech hubs were nothing 20 years ago. And Silicon Valley also started once small. Of course, so you have to give it also time. But I think what the key is that these talents need to believe that they can create something unique, that they can conquer the world. And I know that Europeans do not think big enough, and we need to change this. We need to tell the young people, you can conquer the world from here, from Europe. This is not a mistake to be in Europe. This is actually a super advantage, because the living conditions are great, and you can work together with people also from all over the world. It doesn't limit you today. And so I think the talents is the key. And then of course you need, I guess also in the last, I would say 5 years, the support, let's say the support functions in Europe have increased. Companies like my company were not existing 10 years ago. So there has been a lot of changes. Also, public money was implemented. European Union did a lot of effort here. So this is all good, and then you have to do it. There's sometimes the tendency I cannot hear this anymore. Well, we should do this, and we should demand this, and politics should do that, and everybody should do that. I don't care. You have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, like Kennedy said, don't ask, do it for the country, do it. And I think that's what we need to do. So that's why I think people have to just change their state of mind and how they want to be in the future. And I think I don't want to be a consumer of something.
Yeah.
I want to be a creator. I want to be part of an innovation stream. And I think a place like Mostar, I think we have analyzed this quite well, why this is interesting for us. Because here are a lot of young people, great education possibilities, universities, and we will do things here. And we will try to come here with innovative, with investment to see what we can achieve here. And you can create a company from Mostar, who cares? I mean, there are so many companies from Eastern Ukraine that are amazing AI companies, or Romanian companies, or it doesn't have to be German or Austrian. Oh, no way. I think or Polish companies. I mean, there's a lot of going on there, and I think Bosnia can, and specifically I think Herzegovina, with the close connection to Croatia, I think probably has an advantage actually inside Bosnia Herzegovina to link itself into this. And so I'm happy to be here, and also we hope work together in a couple of projects in the future. So it will be very interesting, and we definitely will do a diamond lab here in Mostar to find those diamond ideas that can change the world. And I think there are so many topics. I mean, all what is green tech, climate change, all this sustainability. Of course, there's a big demand in everything about metaverse, AR, VR. This is not done, okay? There are content creation tools, but there's a lot of technology that is not invented yet. You have still a lot of possibilities in let's call it IT, cyber security. I mean, a lot of things are done, yes, but there are always new use cases. There's always a new problem coming up in this area. So these are all topics, or agrotech. Amazing. I mean, this is specifically could be interesting for this region here with this great landscape. I mean, so you could do a lot of things here where you can prove with the local industry also to create the company. And I think one element is also important. So you need to work in an ecosystem. So the ecosystem is definitely talents in universities. Then you have these companies like ITO, and then you also ideally would have bigger companies that could become customers. And that's also always good to have it in the local community. And there we need to look how much is possible here. But then in the end, you have a bigger market. Let's see all the Balkan countries as potential home base for partnerships. Well, then you immediately have large organizations in there, and then crossing over to Austria is a small step, and Italy is around the corner. So I view there is a way, and then actually the investment side, the money side, the financing side, I always hear, well, nobody's financing us. I'm not sure, and I tell you why I'm not sure. I think it is possible. Of course, you have some American VCs or other VCs as well. I'm not investing in a company outside of US, or maybe I do England and maybe I do Germany, because the legal situation is a problematic. I think this is ending more and more. People understand that you have the talents in those markets, in those jurisdictions, and you have to go there. And that's why I believe it's possible to also get global international financing for a startup in Mostar, and specifically because of the people. And also, I mean, very honest, you can achieve with the same money much more than a startup in Silicon Valley. Because engineers in Silicon Valley are crazy expensive, because it's a scarce resource. Let's say you have also a scarce resource here, but it's on a different level.
I had that experience actually, and I guess it has changed a lot from the 2018 while I was in Chicago in some exchange program. I used to work for one company that was a part of governmental organization in the United States, and they were doing with the security and cybersecurity and stuff like that. And the chief technology officer, while having a lunch with him, we were just speaking about, the incomes, what are the incomes in states compared to incomes in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Of course, I was always the ambassador of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, and our Balkan countries in explaining how beautiful the countries are and what digital nomads could achieve a living here, and of course, in the middle of the promotion of Bosnia and Herzegovina and Croatia, Dalmatia especially, he told me do you know that I have already sold 2 companies for more than a 7-digit number? And I was like, oh my God, and what are you doing here sitting with me, And he said, well, I do have to work, because you know what those exits provided me? Not even an apartment. I'm renting an apartment in Chicago because I cannot afford buying one. It was mind-blowing to me. And this is when I started actually my preaching in Chicago and Washington while I was in State Department as well. And, I told them, listen, for 200,000 euros, you can buy a villa in the prettiest cities of Croatia. You can do your business while soaking your feet in the sea, having the best time of your life for, a quarter of what you pay here, So I have to admit that several of those people that I was preaching to, they actually came for the first time in Croatia and invested in Croatia. Of course, some of them came into Bosnia and Herzegovina as well. Of course, I have to admit that the seaside was more attractive for them, yes, but it doesn't matter, the thing is, the visibility that we have in the world. Of course, we have to preach. We have to be the how do you call it, ambassadors of this region, and the people will come. You were mentioning this blockchain and Web 3.0, and then Balkans as a region. All of us in the Balkans are together. We're like a small country still. Compared to the number of people that are living in ex-Yugoslavia area. But I was surprised. A couple of months ago, I went to Dubai, where I was at the Tomorrow conference, where some of the finest tech industries in the blockchain domain were actually from Belgrade. I was so surprised how Belgrade has advanced in that area. I mean, I will not do the commercials, but amongst top 20 of digital coins, there were coins from, startups. There were tech companies from Serbia and from Belgrade. I was surprised to see that the majority of the people attending that conference in Dubai was actually from Serbia. So there is something. And now when you tell me, that the talents is maybe the most important thing that we have and that we should rely on, the things come together. 1 and 1 equals 2. So it's easily for us to conclude in which direction we should go. You mentioned also that we have the university, which provides an excellent education, but again, yet there's always this mentality of ours, which might be a problem. Why am I saying that? Just a couple of months ago, we had some guests coming from Israel to the universities, and they were asking, how many of you guys attending this class, how many ideas do you have that could be a potential startup? Nobody rose the hand.
Of course not, because but I tell you the reason why. It's very simple. European people in general, also, let's say, more technically oriented people, are more introvert, and they have the idea in their head, probably. 1 out of 10 probably has a great idea, but they're not speaking up. That's why we do the Diamond Lab. That's why we do this format where you open up people in a funny way to speak out loud the idea, to come up with some crazy thoughts. And then suddenly you have many more ideas, because only relying, it's by the way, a similar situation in Austria. There's nothing different, okay? You also have not enough started in Austria. And the same reason. So I think we need to not wait until people come with ideas to us because they have the passion to do it or they have the motivation to do it. I think we have to go to the people. So we have to go to the university like we did in Split 2 days ago. It was amazing. 30 people were totally engaged and had great ideas. We have to be there, we have to teach them how to create ideas and how to formulate ideas, how to tell a story, how to say how to define the value proposition, why people should pay for it. I mean, a good idea doesn't mean that it's a good business. Yeah, there are more ingredients to it. But once you have this, you need to work on that. And so I believe that this would change it when you start kind of a stream of activities that is targeted to unleash the potential of our talents. And I strongly believe in that. I believe Europe will not be able to catch up without a bit more organization of idea creation. Let's say incubators at universities are okay, that there is a door they can knock on, and then some are doing great and some are really bad because wrong people sit in these incubators. So you need to have the right people in the incubators that they really help those people. But once you have those universities who have good people in these incubators, they really rock. On top of that, I think we need to go to the people and take them on the other side of the road. And I think that's again, we cannot wait for this. We have to do it. Yeah? And I think it should happen, it should be, and it should. This is stupid. We have to do it. And I think that's a chance for specifically the Balkan region. And I mean, Mostar, I think, is a great example of a local ecosystem that is basically, that needs some kisses to wake up and really flourish.
I guess, everybody has an idea that is a potential, but how important is to have an idea compared to everything else while pursuing a startup?
I mean, you should have a great idea. This should be unique. Ideally, it should be rooted in science, where you can create differentiation factor with IP. That's the best one, okay? Because then you can really be differentiating, and then immediately your valuation is totally different, okay? But then, of course, you need, one guy has the idea, then you need a team. You need people who have different functions. There's a product guy, development guy, a sales guy in the future, marketing into functions. And then on the other side, you need somebody to help you in selling. I think that the sales effort needs to be global immediately. So everybody who tells me that, okay, let's sell in Bosnia and Herzegovina, I say, fine, if you maybe in agriculture, you sell in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but if you're in tech, you sell globally. It's not even a question that it's a global business. And then you need to be global, and you need to go out global, and you need to start offering your product. And if it's US and you have to be in San Francisco, then you have to go there. Or you need to be in Seoul because you want to crack Samsung, then you have to be there. Or if you have to be, I don't know, in Japan or wherever you need to be, then you have to be there. And this is something what can be supported. So we have this support of this global sales network where we have our experts in all major hotspots, tech hotspots that we can tap into and help the startups initially to set it up, not for the forever, but just to ramp up this initial sales effort to get into these big accounts. I think that's what is really needed at the beginning, because this all has to start and happen super fast, because we are too slow. As I mentioned before, we need to be much faster in all the efforts. And so basically, once the product is 80% done, you need to go and sell. And selling is a good thing, it's not bad. Because in Europe, there's sometimes sales is this car selling dealer mentality. No, selling in tech business is super high intelligent, very structured. You can learn this and you can be super successful. So these are things that can be supported. And we do this for our startups, and I guess that's why maybe they are also quite successful.
I guess in your career with working with startups, you had many issues like, should I share my idea? Is somebody gonna steal it?
Yeah.
How does that turn out to be? How do you deal with
If somebody
that?
steals your idea, then still that means he implements your idea. I've rarely seen that. I've seen more the story, okay, I've told this company my idea, or I've told them the idea, and then they tried it. Of course, there are a couple of companies who really do this by, let's say, profession, to ask startups to come to their campus, and they listen to them, and then they make them even sign stupid NDAs where you basically agree that whatever you tell them, they can use it for their product and for their services, and you don't get anything. You need to be happy. I mean, but that's why you also need legal advice if you deal with big companies, because of course you need to know what you're signing up. Yeah? And so I think stealing the idea is dangerous when you're dealing with big companies. That's why it's good to have IP, protected IP. On the other side, if you tell somebody your idea, let's say you meet an investor at a reception, tell him the idea. You don't have to give it the technical details, but see what he likes. If he likes the idea, does the investor like the area of the start? Let's say agriculture. Is he interested in agriculture? Yes or no? Can he contribute to your idea? Maybe he has immediate reaction. Oh, this could be interesting for this company or for this customer, or this could be interesting for the other startup. So you immediately, when you talk about your idea, you immediately get feedback, and you need to classify the feedback, and you shouldn't be afraid of it. Of course, you will not disclose everything. If you're doing this, then you're stupid. Let's say a typical example, not stupidness, but is when a researcher, a professor goes on a conference and discloses some great things he found. Well, then this IP is gone because it's public domain. He can never make money out of that. Of course, some professors are okay with that, and specifically, I would call American universities have a different strategy with that. They say, okay, before you speak, you have to file a patent. You have to check if this is a patent or something IP that you can protect your ideas. So, in the end, your idea is only as good as you do it and you execute it. And there is also a theory that some ideas happen to the same time in different geographies, and if a startup or a potential startup comes up and says, well, we have this idea and we didn't find anything, it's most of the time they did not really search. Most of the time you find something that is similar, or there is somebody in an adjacent market who could easily go into that. So you have you have a potential competitor that is not your competitor now, but once he sees your idea, he could move into your market. So you need to be very careful. I mean, whatever the big tech companies can always move in anything what you have in what you want, what you do. That's why you need to find out what is your entry barrier, how can you protect yourself, how you can create IP that helps you to not get under the radar, under the wheels of a truck, of a big tech truck. So, but this is always individual. So there is not a golden rule for things. It's always looking at the details. Looking
No silver bullet.
No. I mean, there's only one thing is clear. At one stage, when you're dealing with big companies, you need a lawyer. You need somebody who understands how you deal with big companies. And this is also something where I like this because, as I mentioned before, I'm a lawyer by education. You can read contracts and you understand where the specific and sensitive areas in the contract, what you need to be careful. And if you've never done this before, and if you think you can learn this, you go on the internet and you download a template and whatever. This is unfortunately not true. I think investing in a good lawyer that understands IP, that understands business contracts, licensing contracts, SaaS model contracts, is a good investment. It's like an insurance payment to be able to make sure that you can build your business on a contract. Because I've seen a lot of startups, we have met this company and they said, yes, they want to deal with it. I have even an email where saying, okay, we want to do this with you. Well, for an investor, this is still not a contract. Yeah, it's a positive outlook, but you need to close it. You need to get it home in a way that you can count it with a contract. So there are a couple of important elements to be successful, besides the idea and the product and selling, etc. You need some financing, and the legal side is really key.
Just recently, actually, 3 days ago, one of our board members from ITO has come back from a trip from the United States. He was on a 6-week visit to some tech companies in the United States and following some rules and programs, but pretty much, he was getting some experience from the market in the United States. And, one of our goals was to get introduced to the startup boot camps, accelerators, startups, and, to get educated on that level in order for us to understand how to help our startups here. One of the topics that we continuously were forced to swallow was the investment. Of course, in order to start anything, you need to have some kind of a capital, to start, even with hiring a lawyer. It is a bit different here and in the States. For example, every topic in that direction in the United States is like, well, okay, you have an idea, you go to the bank and get some money and start your startup. I mean, okay, maybe it works in the United States, but
the
here,
bank is probably
here it definitely doesn't work. I mean, when you have an idea and you go to the bank and say, "Listen, I have an idea," they would just show you the doors. It's not working like that. I mean, it is very important to have that issue on the table, that the startups around here do not have the capital capacities. And even, we mentioned this CTO that sold 2 companies for 7-digit numbers. Million in the United States is nothing. Million here is huge. So it is a huge gap between those 2 edge cases, And from your experience, how do you feel, this Balkans region and the startup community with the investments?
I would say it's not too different than smaller countries in Europe. So you have a concentration venture money on few hotspots actually. So Berlin, London, Munich in Germany, Paris for sure. A lot of public money in France, and then Barcelona, and then Amsterdam and Stockholm. So you have in Helsinki, you have these hotspots, but outside of these hotspots, it's almost the same situation as you have. So it's not specific a problem of the Balkan region. It's a problem of the ignorance of investors of ideas that not come from the hotspots. And so I think there are investors who are interested in startups that are not in the hotspots. And we know investors that are also co-investing with us. And we are a good example. I have only one startup in a hotspot in Berlin. The rest is not in hotspots, and that's good, not a problem, because I think they're not worse than in other places. Of course, you need to be clear that also when you have a startup in Silicon Valley, you need so much more money to employ the same team as you employ in Europe. Of course, because the salaries are so expensive, the cost of living is so expensive. So you're totally right, $1 million in the US is nothing, $1 million here is huge. On the other side, the startups and when they send out their pitch decks or so, they're very often not professionally done. So in my point of view, there is a lack of experience how to create a professional investment memorandum. What has to be in there? And could be there's the value proposition are clear. You do not understand what problem are they really solving. You only see blockchain and NFTs, etc., and say, okay, guys, I've seen this again. Another NFT or whatever. What problem are you solving? Yeah? And so I think if this is done properly, you have a chance to get money in Europe, also for most time. I'm pretty sure, and we will try it. So it's not like that it's not possible. I'm 100% sure it's possible.
Thank you for sharing that information. And on the end of this session, I would ask you one question that I always ask to all of my guests that are coming to the podcast. Of course, the first one we already answered, the benefits of Herzegovina from your perspective. Yeah. And the second one is a book. I know that a lot of people that are listening podcasts, they are open to suggestions of very good books regarding to the topics. So what would your suggestion for a book to all of our
so my suggestion would be the book Crossing the Chasm from Geoffrey Moore, and this is already, I don't know, in his 10th edition or so. And it talks about in tech business, in building up your company and doing the whole startup gig, what is needed strategically to get over this chasm, so from early adopters to early maturity. So where you not only have one customer in one market, but you have more customers, and you can talk about, okay, I have made it, I will be a respected player in a market. And I think that is the key. Crossing over the chasm, this is what investors want to see, because then you know the value proposition works. Let's say your product works, it's scalable, and people pay for it. Because this is the basis. Because then, once you have, let's say you go into a small market and it works in a small market, you can anticipate what will happen in bigger markets, and you have a formula how this works. And then you need to sell it to investors that this gets you to the next level. Let's say you make 1 million revenue, but now I can give me another 2 million and I make 10 million revenue. That's exactly what you need to showcase to cross over this chasm of being, let's say, this one-off shot, super cool, but it's only one customer. And you never can replicate your success. Then you've done something wrong. If you can replicate success, you will be also successful with investors because they liked it. So that's why I like the book, and crossing the chasm is the key for startups.
Thank you. I will definitely take it into the consideration of my Audible, and I guess a lot of our listeners will do too. My dear friend, it's a pleasure, first of all, to have you here and to had this conversation with you. Thank you for sharing all of your knowledge and experience. And I guess the next time we have this conversation, we're going to have in a bit different perspective, hopefully partnering up and working together on startups. Now to say the off for all of our listeners. Dragi slušatelji, hvala vam puno što ste bili danas sa nama i što ste izdvojili svoje vrijeme da poslušate neka od iskustava našeg partnera i kolege Andreasa Spechtlera. Evo, želimo vam da svakako nas pratite i u našim sljedećim podcastima koji dolaze, a do tada svako vam dobro želimo.